Bola TINUBU, President of Nigeria, remove that David Umahi. My soldiers, today we are discussing the death of a young Nigerian woman. We should approach this death with seriousness and respect for our family, for the truth, and for due process. I wish this podcast did not have to be recorded. I hesitated. But the Ofion Okwa show must do his job. That's why we're here. Look at the topics on your screen. If you want to understand why the common man in Nigeria is completely unprotected by this TINUBU regime, you have to look at what just happened inside the private country residence, or is it mansion Uinuburu, of one of the most powerful men and one of the closest allies of President Bola TINUBU. This man is in his cabinet. On June 27th, 2026, a young, vibrant 26-year-old physiotherapist named Mary Habila, known as Mara to those who loved her, born in Nok, Southern Kaduna, was found dead inside the country mansion of the notorious Nigeria's Minister of Works, who has been arguing endlessly on Arise TV, Senator David Umahi, in Uburu, Ebonyi State. These facts are not in dispute. The minister himself has confirmed them. But look at these details that I find horrific. According to the Ebonyi State Director of Public Prosecutions, Mary Habila was found naked. That's what is in all the reported papers. She was lifeless on the floor with blood around her nose and mouth. The DPP officially declared that she had no prior illness and was full of life, concluding that only a post-mortem autopsy can establish what killed this young woman. What killed her? And yet, as I speak to you today, there is no autopsy. This can only happen in Nigeria. There is no autopsy. Her family is being rushed to bury her tomorrow, June 17th, in Kaduna State, while completely declining to request an autopsy. Police sources quoted by Sahara reporters have alleged that the family is facing immense, terrifying pressure behind the scenes to stay quiet and skip the autopsy. A lot of death in Nigeria is always hidden. Smash that subscribe button. Hit the like button for the Ofion Okwa show right now on YouTube, because today we are exposing the shocking, raw anatomy of what really happened here. President TINUBU, I want to say to you, stop this Ubutu house horror. Fire Minister David Umahi now. Fire this man. You should want the anatomy of a mansion, country home scandal. Let us look closely at the facts. Let's look at the facts. Let's be serious now. Documented by the investigators. Mary Habila and another young woman, Anita Baski, were brought to that mansion from Kaduna State on June 26 by Jonathan Bawado, a serving police officer who acts as the minister's personal assistant. She now was found dead the very next morning. Now, the minister claims these women were merely, they were just medical staff, just seconded from the Federal Ministry of Health Sciences to the Ministry of Works. Really? Was that just what it was? Do the autopsy now. Let's have investigation. According to reporting, police sources involved in the investigation are even already telling journalists that they do not buy this story, they do not agree. And the public is asking the obvious burning question: why on earth were university hospital staff, posted to a politician's private weekend residence in Ebonyi State? And on what official assignment? It gets worse. Investigators are actively examining allegations that the minister left the residence shortly after the body was found, while his aides quietly arranged an ambulance. David Umahi, by the way, denies all wrongdoing as at today. He says he advised the family to get an autopsy. That is what he's saying. And he's threatening to sue anyone spreading falsehoods. They love to sue in those corrupt Nigerian courts. But Mr. Minister, threats are not answers. They are not. Why was a 26-year-old professional woman dead in her house? That's the question that has to be answered. Why was she naked? As reportedly. Why was she bleeding from her nose and mouth? Reportedly, it's in the papers. And who pressured a grieving family to decline the one medical procedure that can reveal the truth? There would have been no need for me to do this podcast if an autopsy was done. If Mary Habila's body goes into the ground in Kaduna State tomorrow. Without an autopsy, this case is not closed. I promise Umahi, I promise TINUBU, this case is not closed. It has been actively buried. The Officer of Kwasho will not let the truth to be buried. We are not. Issue 2, the machine of elite impunity in TINUBU's Nigeria. My soldiers, this tragedy exposes the exact machine of elite impunity circa 2026 in TINUBU's Nigeria. It has identifiable parts, and we are seeing them play out in real time. First, elite capture of the police. The police who must investigate a federal minister answer to the very executive branch that the minister serves. They answer to the Inspector General who TINUBU. We know how that works. In fact, the personal assistant who brought Mary to the house is a serving police officer himself. So how then do we get an impartial investigation when the minister's own administrative staff, when the minister admin is the employer of the investigator? Second, the death of forensic truth. Impunity in Nigeria does not start in a courtroom. Most people don't know this. It starts in the morgue. If a grieving family can be pressured, in some cases compensated or exhausted into forgetting about skipping autopsy, the crime officially vanished. That's how Nigeria works. No cause of death means no charge. No charge means no trial. And third, public amnesia. The public, they believe we'll forget about it. The political class in Nigeria knows. Our outrage only lasts 3 weeks. People scream for 3 weeks and then it's gone. They believe they don't need to prove their innocence in Nigeria. They just need to wait out the news cycle. They are making a huge mistake this time. But we are telling them today, we, the Officer of Kwasho, will not forget about this girl, this lady. These are our demands. We are making direct, uncompromising demands on this Officer of Kwasho today. First, the Inspector General of Police must immediately transfer the Habila investigation out of Ebonyi State completely. Second, an independent autopsy by foreign pathologists, neutral foreign pathologists, must be conducted immediately. I'm telling you, this autopsy must be done by pathologists completely outside the control of Ebonyi State and any institution bearing David Umahi's name, or under TINUBU government's control. That's our demand. Third, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, I'm saying this to you, a minister in your cabinet is under the weight of a horrific, unresolved tragedy. In any halfway functioning democracy, David Umahi must step aside. He must, or be fired immediately while this investigation runs its course. That is how things work in 2026 in the world today. A country where the answer to who may die in a great man's house without consequence, or is anyone, is a country where eventually it can be everyone. She dies, others will die just like her, as others have died before. I want to hear from you in the comments section below. Do you believe this truth? Do you believe the truth about Mary Habila is being buried and it is time for TINUBU to fire David Umahi? Drop your comments. Smash the share button. And let's make sure the truth cannot be hidden. This is very important. This is your Officer of Kwasho. We just don't report events. Ladies and gentlemen, my soldiers, we track where they lead. We follow it. I remain the voice of the voiceless. Your independent voice telling fearless truths about Nigeria. I am Offiong Akwa. Be good to yourselves. Be good to each other. Make we go.
This is what I shall never know. Yes. Senator Effiong react to the training story concerning the Umahi. You understand? So that lady that was found dead in his residence. You understand? So it already happened. We know say we all see the video. We all see the video where Senator the Umahi. You understand? Forest they call it say. The girl be like daughter to her, you understand? So even when this happened, said he called talk with the boyfriend, you understand? Her boyfriend, you understand? He was having a conversation with his boyfriend, with her boyfriend, so to say, you understand? So he talked good, I talk good left, but for me in that talk, it don't make sense. You understand? It don't make sense to me. You understand me? So even when the man, even how the man take yourself, the man that might get pride. As in get that pride we did that man body. You understand? So we don't want to let go. Well, when they do proper investigation, you understand, to this case, because there's something fishing. So that's it.